So whenever morning, good evening. So whenever you are creating a project, there is a structure to be followed for automation. So the architecture for designing the Selenium is the first one is called as implementation. Implementation. The second, so first one will comes under implementation. This when it comes to the second one is execution. Execution. And the third one will comes under the second one is execution, and the third one is first one is implementation. How you are going to create your test cases, how you are going to execute the test cases, and how you are going to add your log4j reports, report generation. All these things will comes under implementation part. And the second part will comes under execution. How you are going to execute and how you are going to generate the reports in this process will come out. And the third part is a way we are enhancing the reporting in the form of different XML files. Adding the files, reporting the generate files, implementation process, next enhancing the scripts in different variations. How you can enhance these things, that will So first one is implementation, second one is execution, and the third one is maintenance. So these are the three elements which we need to maintain. So these are which are the architecture which we are going to design them. Now, when you are coming for the implementation, what are the things we need to prepare in this implementation? So the first part will comes under this. First one is implementation. Implementation. In this implementation part, we are going to prepare the first, we are going to create your Maven project. So under that, we are going to create, first one is we're going to create Maven project. Maven project. Now under the Maven project, we need to update your pom.xml file. Update the pom.xml files. We need to update all your pom.xml files. We need to create page objects. We need to create your page objects. And the fourth one, we need to create your test cases. So creating basic test cases. Basic test cases. Once you create all your test cases, we need to add logs to test cases. Next, read common values. We need to add your common values from the property list, from property files. From the property files. Now we need to run your result drawer. Now we need to add your add extent reports. We need to add your extent reports. Once you add your extent reports, we need to create data driven test cases. Create data driven test cases. Once you add your test cases, we need to add your test cases, we need to enhance the scripts in that. So here, when you're working with this, test cases, we need to create the common value for all the property list. We already worked in the property list. What are the themes come the property list? The internal files which are going to add the data from the internal file. What is internal file? The property file. What do you mean by property file? So there are two types of files are there. One is called internal files and another one is external files. Internal files are the inbuilt in files and external files are Excel sheet, .xml file. Okay. So creating. So once you're done, we need to run your test cases in a desired drawer. Which application you've been created the test cases, those test cases we need to run it. Once you run it, we need to add your extend reports to that. And we need to create the data driven test. We need to create your data adding new test cases. If you once you create the data driven test, we need to adding new test cases. You need test cases. New test cases. So this is the procedure for implementation. So implementation. The second one is called an execution. So what are the things we need to execute this? We need whatever the test case has been executed, whatever the test case has been created, we need to execute the test cases. Based on that, we need to add the logs to the test cases. And once you add the log test cases, we need to create those test cases and we need to execute them in the Maven project. We need to execute them in the Maven project. So how we are going to execute the Maven project? So what we need to do is we need to run your test cases with the run the test cases with the run the test cases in Maven project. We need to add your run your now. Once you run your all your test cases in the Maven project, now what we need to do is we need to create your. We already add the log file log test cases. So we need to execute these log test cases in Maven project, right? In Maven project. So the execution will be based on either you can, if you are using TestNG, you can run your TestNG test cases, or if you're using Maven project, we need to run your Maven project. So in Maven project, what we are doing is we are going to add the pym.xml file and we are going where you are going to run all your test cases. Now we need to execute the Maven test cases and we need to run the batch files also. So run the test cases along with the bad files along with the bad files. Now run the test cases using Jenkins. So mean that you can run your test cases either Maven project, you can run your test cases using run.bat, you can run your test cases using Jenkins. So run the test cases using Jenkins. So there are different ways where you can execute all your test cases. This is the second procedure. Now, when you come to the third procedure, the third procedure is how we are going to maintain this, where we are going to store all these test cases and execution files. So maintenance. Creating repository in GitHub, commit the project code in local repository. So what are the things which we need to do is we need to, whatever the test case has been created, we need to create your creating repository for in GitHub. We need to create in GitHub. Later on, we need to commit the project code, commit the project code in local repository. And the third one is we need to push the project code, we need to push the project code in GitHub and remote repository from local host Git repository. So these are the three procedures which are going to follow. So this is the methodology. So first what we're doing is first we need to what is the first procedure? The first procedure is implementation. So how we are going to create all your test cases, log files, reading common values from the property list. If you are using this, you can also use page object model also. How we are going to add your external reports, extend reports, how you are going to add your data-driven test cases, all these things. And you can run what are the test cases have been created. You can run through Maven project, you can run through bad files, you can run through Jenkins. And the third one is called maintenance. So how we are going to run your project in GitHub by creating the repository in GitHub, and you need to push all the things into the local repository in the GitHub, and we need to run those repository files. So this is the overall structure of your project. So for that, first of all, we need to have a Maven project. First, we need to create a, so showing us creating Maven project. We are going to create a Maven project. So what are the steps, how we are going to create your Maven project? I'll show you. So just I'm going to open my Eclipse. So under the Eclipse, I'm going to create a separate folder for WebDriver project. Click on launch. So automatically your Eclipse project repo. Now I've been creating a new project. Now here what I'm doing is, under that I'm going to create a project. What project I'm going to create? Maven project. So for that, go to file, new. Under the new, here you can find Maven. See, is there any project? No Java project is there. Go to other, and there you can find the Maven project. Click on the Maven project. Click on the Maven project, and there you can find the Maven project. Now click next, and we need to add your project name. So we can select the create a sample project also. We can select this option, and we need to add your file. Click next. So here artifact ID and two types are there. One is called global ID and artifact ID. Global ID is the project ID, and artifact ID is the what module, your company ID. Your company ID is the artifact ID. So group ID. So I'm going to work as something like testing. So I'm going to make as artifact ID also testing. Click finish. So automatically your Maven project is been created. Now, when you click on the Maven project, there is a default called as a .xml file, pym.xml file. It is not a page object model. It is a XML file, which is in the form of pym. Now, XML file. So whenever you are creating, for example, you are working on TestNG, normal Java project, you need to add your Selenium jar files, right? 3.17 or 2.53 adding. Tomorrow your version is being changing out. Now what we need to do, again, we need to uninstall the version and we need to add your version. Now in this Maven project, we no need to add, uninstall it. Directly when you upgrade your version, then automatically it will store in the Maven repository. Once you create your Maven project, there you can find the Maven repository. There is a folder called Maven repository. See, here what I'm doing is I'm going to add all my jar files. What are the required jar files to be added for your project? Now, steps for creating Maven project. So go to new in Eclipse. Now select project -Maven. Select Maven project. Specify the project artifact as well as group ID. Click next. Click finish. So now under pym.xml file, add the required jar files. Add the required jar files. What are the jar files we required? We need to add your Selenium server Java file. That is, so what are the things we need to add? Where you are going to add? From where you are going to get these jar files? We have a separate website called as Maven repository website is there. Just go to the Google page and search for MVN repository. MVN MVN repository. Under the MVN repository, here can find, see, click on the MVN repository. You can get the repositories from the MVN repository. So what are the things we need to have it? See, just when you click on that, here I want to get Selenium server standalone. When you click on that, see, here you can find the when I click on that, here you can find the latest version. Now here you can find the latest version of your jar file. So here you can find the number of users who has been using more usage on this project. So you can see 2.53.0. This is the jar file. Now here see, can see that as this is the repository file. Just you can copy the repository. You can copy the repository from this and you can go to the Maven project. Under the pvm.xml file, you can add the repository. So where you can add this repository, just below the, here you can add all your repositories. So starting with, you can mention as dependencies. And each dependencies, under that you can start with the dependency. So this is the first dependency. What is the first jar file I've been added? Selenium standalone jar file I've been added. After that, I need to add my JUnit. I already added my JUnit. So you can find the JUnit jar file. Click on that and you can find the latest version of your JUnit also. Just scroll down and 4.12. Just scroll down. Here you can find the repository version. What is the repository version? See, this is the version. Just you copy the latest version of your G. Right? Now, after that, I need to add so I need to add my Selenium Java, Selenium JUnit. Now, I need to add my standalone is added Selenium Java. Selenium Java. See, you can find here. You can find here Selenium Java. Click on that. Now you can find the latest version. Number of users accessing on this is 49. So you can find 51. So you can go 4.1.2, right? So this is the scroll down and here you can find the latest version is 4.1.2. Then scroll it and you can copy the URL. These are dependencies. Now, once you add your dependency, now we can go for the other more dependencies. JUnit has been added, standalone has been added, Selenium Java has been added. Okay. Now, if you want to have the extent reports, we can add your extent reports. For the timing, just have been added by. Now, whenever you create all your dependencies, now
Stand up, sit up, sit down on the plate, stand up in the bench, sit down on the bench, sit, like this, sit in the bench, sit,